Hi. Remember long, long ago when I unboxed the Pendragon starter set and the so-called core rules? I said that it was the beginning of a new series. I don't think in that video I used the word soon for when the second and subsequent installments would appear, but perhaps it was implied. Well, here we are, more than a year later. The Game Master's book for Pendragon 6th edition has come out. I've received it. I've had it for a long time, and yet still no subsequent video. Here we are. This is the video. I had other intentions for how this video would look and where it would be set. We're going to go to the park, and we are going to continue our conversation about Pendragon. However, all right, we're going to try going to the park again, this time with Grace. And we'll try talking about Pendragon again. Do you think we're going to succeed? We're cautiously optimistic. Let's be cautiously optimistic. But, as you can see, life and its circumstances had other ideas, which is thematically appropriate for Pendragon and a lot of other role-playing games. This video will set up the direction that the rest of the series should travel. And I have to be honest, I've been finding it very difficult to make this series. I've been finding it difficult to want to share much of anything with the community. A lot of things that are going on online just make a lot of the potential interactions or the actual interactions tedious or frustrating, or like you are screaming into a vacuum. And I would simply just rather talk with the people that I play with. But every once in a while, I am reminded what it's like to be in periods of isolation where it might just be a singular voice which connects you to a beloved hobby or some other thing that you enjoy. So here we are. Pendragon. We talked a little bit about the series in the first video. You can go back and check that. This video is about Pendragon itself and what it can be and how I intend to present my response to Pendragon moving forward. So the rest of the series, whenever it appears, makes sense and maybe inspires others to follow suit, or at least gives them something to push against to help them define what their vision of Arthur is, and Arthur's world and this game inspired by that character. And that's an important part of the game too. So, Pendragon. What is it, really? Starting with Arthur, I think we all have a lot of perceptions and misconceptions about that character. But Arthur is a model for behavior and a warning from a position of experience. Arthur, in these modern times, has grown into the once and future king. And I mean this in that the character serves as an instructive example for everyone who has followed and learned of Arthur. Arthur's kingdom, its focal point of Camelot, with its centerpiece round table and the relationships between the knights who sit about it and adventure from it, shows us first and foremost that all civilizations, organizations, groups, bands, and bonds, even families, contain the seeds of their own destruction. This is the essential warning of Arthur. The often celebrated, seemingly joyful tale of the sword in the anvil, or as it would more alliteratively come to be better known, the sword in the stone, serves as a large font, full orchestra hint about these seeds of destruction. It relates a situation of competition among the powerful to be the one to claim the throne and take the power as king, versus the boy Arthur's innocent desire to help someone in need. Then, because it is understood that people lie, this innocent, well-meaning boy is guided to be part of a deception, to reenact the drawing of the sword, to definitively prove that it took place in front of witnesses and who drew it and what that means. Because it's not enough to recognize the sword in the hand of the boy. It's not enough to ask who drew it and get an answer. It's too hard to believe the answer. And it's too tempting to simply take the sword and claim the throne for your own. This is life as we know it today, and as the people who began speaking of Arthur and the people who continued speaking of Arthur until now have known it. Knights. There's also knights. Well, the cowardly, and we seem to be surrounded by oh so many of them, especially when they are physically strong and fearfully forceful, I feel resonate really strongly with their understanding of the image of the armor-clad and weapon-bearing knight as a sign of personal power and control over circumstances, because they conflate bullying with leadership. And what that view perverts is the duty to protect and the image of hope the knight conveys to those under that protection. That this is a relationship of support and respect eludes them. In this perverted view, that sense of duty simply dies. And the hope cannot flourish and grow into a healthy and self-sustaining society when the knight is an image of fear and control. The legacy of the knight is to be a model on which the next generation builds toward further greatness. And the experience of the knight is to grow under a knight's protection, to learn from that knight, to take over from that knight, and in their turn be the knight, protecting the next generation and the previous one, now too old or too wounded to fulfill that role. The duty of shelter falls to the knight. Arthur, in the long literary tradition surrounding that character, is not demonstrating domination of those within the society, nor is Arthur demonstrating fear and hatred of the outsider and other. Arthur demonstrates leadership as stewardship of a brighter future, open to all. Across all the pages, under all the pens of those who seek to turn Arthur to their will, to tell their tale or message, The character finds a way to point to both the failings within, which killed the dream of Camelot, and the way forward, so we might not. Arthur unites. Arthur expects personal excellence and commitment in service to the community. Arthur brings differences together and celebrates them as equal in value. Arthur recognizes achievement and puts it to work for the betterment of the community, both as inspiration and as service, as duty. Each member of that community having a duty and receiving and giving respect. Arthur, as an idea, heals the land and its people. And in the absence of Arthur's example, we and the land dwindle in valor, in vision, and in virtue. Perhaps the greatest lesson of Arthur is that the dream dies within the lifetime of those who brought it into being. We do it to ourselves each and every time. We have been warned. We do not, will not listen. But Arthur's not a warning not to try. It's not a surrender to our base nature. It's a call to our better nature. It's a reminder of the challenge, a vision of the pitfalls within and around us. And most importantly, it's that charge, that call to do better. Arthur, for all the potential of that character and all the support gained from the exemplary characters drawn to support the dream of Camelot, is the author of its fall and the enabler of those who would refuse to embrace its dream and would rejoice in its end. Arthur is a warning as much as an inspiration. And the world of Arthur fulfills one of those functions that role-playing games do so well, that being a testing ground for ideas, a testing ground for beliefs and tolerances, a testing ground for who we are as people. It's play as discovery. It's play as instruction. It's play as enjoyment. It's play as risk and reward. It's all of these things. Pendragon is a game of playing knights of the Round Table. Pendragon is the land, broken and beset. Pendragon is people divided and lacking unity, purpose, and humane leadership. Pendragon shows us the sword drawn from the stone, signaling a new age, a new dream. And when we play Pendragon, we are the shapers and the stewards of that dream. Who wouldn't want to play it? So, what would it mean to play Pendragon with all of that supporting us as backdrop and foundation? What would that really mean? And I think it's important to take a step back to view, how people talk about Pendragon when we consider how we are going to play Pendragon. I think the most frequently stated description is Pendragon is a game about playing knights, or playing Arthurian knights, or playing the Knights of the Round Table. But when we dig a little deeper, a lot of the conversation really comes down to, yeah, but what else can you do with it? Who else can you play? Can we have knights of different types or from different places? Can we play ladies? Do we have to play men? What about clergy? What about wizards and druids and fairies? And what else can we do with it? Which kind of pushes Pendragon toward the chivalry simulator, or more, to being a medieval or dark ages or whatever simulator. Then we dig into all of the things we can actually do with printed Pendragon. The foundation and continuation of a family, the alliance of houses, the pursuit of glory, the rise in status, and all of these things, we start to think, well, yeah, Pendragon really is about that society. It's about all the details that go into being a knight in Arthur's Britain. It's about manners, and it's about fees, and it's about the benefits of being a knight. And if you're this type of knight, you'll get that type of gear. And if you're this other type of knight, then you won't get anything. And if you do this, that, or the other thing, if you pay your tithes, if you're on time, if you remember to go to church, if you play the game of romance the right way. And well, some of these things are essential to the knightly stories, and some of these are perhaps only essential to us and what we need in order to create that entrancing realm of imagination that speaks to us in play. And from this step back, looking at the discussion of Pendragon as a whole, I wonder about the market forces over the different decades it's been around, and how they have kind of pushed and pulled on the products which get prepared and then presented to we the people to play Pendragon. I wonder about that. As I see that the line itself kind of shifted from adventures and challenges and campaign setups and became support material for wars and battles and warlords and nobles and manors and feasts and all manner of things to deal with a very particular take in a very particular time of a very particular Arthur. And that Arthur may not speak to you, and those details may not speak to you, and you may find yourself being led off the path toward the lessons of Arthur and the inspiration of Arthur, and more toward becoming an expert on a particular period in history and all the details as they pertain to knightly and courtly conduct under an umbrella of chivalry, which honestly would apply to very few of the characters that end up being portrayed. And so there can be some confusion, there can be some difficulty, and we can start to understand the challenges that people face when they think, well, how do I even start this game? And you think, what are you talking about? It was just, it's not that hard to play Pendragon. I mean, this is the Game Master's book, for Pendragon. That's all it is. And, this is significantly larger. This is the player's book, but this has like the instructions for how to create your character. And it has things like, full page art in it. And it, it can't be that hard to play Pendragon. It's just that. Except now, of course, it's that and that. And in between, it has been all manner of variations. Pendragon has packaged and repackaged, it's searched for and researched for and represented a lot of information about the many faces of Arthur, but with a very particular through line, right? Tied to very particular source material and a very particular set of dates. And that deep love of learning new things, of digging into exciting material and finding riches in it, is going to serve a certain percentage of players, and it's going to be a disservice to a certain percentage of players, and it's going to be somewhere in between for the people who are in between. And this is like every other hobby or endeavor that we undertake. And it's funny that it needs to be reiterated. And it's strange to hear that this is the way to play this game. This is the only way to play this game, and that kind of thing. Or if you want to play Pendragon, you're going to want to have what's called the core rule book, and you're going to want to have the Game Master's book. And you probably shouldn't start yet, because you're also going to want the Book of Nobles. And in fact, there are 5 core rule books planned for Pendragon 6th edition. So you might want to wait, but you don't have to wait. But there's information that was in Pendragon 5th edition that's not yet printed for Pendragon 6th edition, and they might change it, and they might not. And we can create a whole lot of confusion for ourselves, and all of these things, for many people, just get interpreted as barriers. Well, I guess I shouldn't play Pendragon, or maybe I'll just pray, dear God, please send me a Pendragon Game Master. I promise I'll be good. But long, long ago, Pendragon was just this, and people played it. How? Well, actually, not much differently than we've just talked about. There are people who picked it up because they were experts in Arthur and Arthur's day. They're experts in this particular Arthur or adjacent Arthurs, or could launch from this Arthur into other authors. So maybe they fully embrace the gold lame disco style, 70s Arthur of Excalibur, or maybe they took the guts of the system and played something else. Maybe they played that future king. Maybe they played Arthur on distant worlds as humanity reaches across the stars, but still struggles with those same human problems. And one day, Arthur returns. Who knows? There's a lot you can do with the not very much, and yet tremendous amount that was packed into King Arthur Pendragon, 1st edition. For me, I find Arthur is a fairy story. Spenser's The Fairy Queen immediately comes to mind. Arthur is lessons. Arthur is oral tradition. It's tales told around the campfire. It's tales told during harvest, before, during, and after the work. It's at feast days. It's after victories to remind us not to let our pride soar to unreasonable limits. It's after tremendous defeats to remind us that the difference between humility and a disregard of self. Arthur is about the pursuit of something better, and the vehicle for this exploration, which we can find in Pendragon, is to take on the role of these people. We can don the armor of their skill, of their talents and training, of their particular faith in a better way and a better world. and their courage in facing it head on. We can enter into the mysterious forest or the desolate wasteland. We can deal with the depredations of supernatural beings, of the Fey world, or wizards who have wrested dark knowledge from terrible places, or for wise men like Merlin, who we're not really sure if we should trust, but we'll try. So, what did the author of Pendragon say about it? What was that initial spark? How was it discussed? Well, in incredibly tiny print, it says object of the game on page 27 of the player's book of Pendragon, first edition. King Arthur Pendragon. Still available for, at time of recording, $9.99 on DriveThruRPG. If you're going to be playing 6th edition and it feels like an awful lot to read, seems a little intimidating, it's worth picking this up. Pendragon happens in a world of knights and their ladies in the age of chivalry, where the nobles hold the most important positions. Players control the actions of characters who are often quite different from themselves. The object of the game is to choose actions for the player characters that are appropriate for their roles within society and for achieving their own goals. I'm going to stop here for a second because this is telling us two things. One, this game is looking for in-character roleplay. Two, player character is not referring to the player, it's referring to the character. The roles for squires and knights call for chivalrous, romantic, not that kind of romance, but the formal romance, romantic, and religious behavior. The players control the characters' success or failure by operating them by the Arthurian world's rules. Playing in character as if these characters were real people operating within their real world, operating within context. This is saying nothing about the system of the game. When player characters succeed within their roles, their deeds are recounted by bards to be admired by all. Within the game rules, this success is measured by a statistic called glory. The game master figures and assigns the exact amount of glory each character gains. Obtaining glory for the player characters is one of the goals in playing Pendragon. A greater goal is to experience a taste of the magical world of King Arthur through the actions and eyes of the character knights. Right. So trying several different ways to refer to the character and to refer to the player and refer to the way in which play has been envisioned by its creator. What are the goals? Well, from a purely playing the game point of view, you would like to do the things that are going to get your character more glory, because that is going to, turn the engines of change within the game environment. But why do we do this? For a taste of what it might be like to be a knight in that world. And so when we encounter questions of, can I play something else? Then immediately we're running counter to why the game was created in the first place. Yes, of course, the game can handle playing other things or characters from other places or from other perspectives in a sense, but it's really set up to put you in the shoes of knights. adhering to the codes of courtly romance and chivalrous behavior. And so we can take this original description of the game and think, well, I really need to learn more and more about Arthur's world, and I think that would be awesome, and it's great. It's certainly something that I have done both personally and academically. But the game itself puts you on that path, tells you when you're veering from it, tells you when you're steering closer to true, and in a very real sense, teaches you the realities of this particular Arthur's particular world. So we can ease off on some of that pressure. We can allow the edges to be blurry. We can allow a certain amount of innocence and discovery in the knights, the very young knights that we begin to portray in the game. And as we grow in understanding and surety, so do they. And then as they grow old and pass the torch on to the next generation, they can also pass on these lessons of, my child, this is how I want you to behave. This is the correct path. That is beneath you as a knight, right? And so as the ages go on, we tread that very dangerous road toward Camelot and then to Camelot's fall. Or we don't. Or we quest, we journey, we contest with other knights, we seek glory, we grow in skill and power, we make alliances between houses, we produce progeny, the progeny then take over and begin their own quests, bringing the land together, casting out evil, supporting good, and demonstrating daily the duty of the knight, the effect of chivalrous behavior, the respect demonstrated by courtly love, and we still find the game teaching us what it would be like if these people were real, and if we could get a glimpse or a taste of their lives. And so as I go through this series, as I prepare to play Pendragon 6th edition for myself, this is how I'm thinking about the game. I'm coming from a past of being one of those people who wanted all of those support books. I have those support books, the Book of the Manor, and I want to dig deeply into all the minutiae of this world, of all these characters, all these different character options. I want people role-playing the ladies and the merchants and the mysterious wizard and the, government representatives lying in wait in bodies of water and that sort of thing. But not this time. This time, it will be that fantastical journey of faith through a world poorly understood by the people who lived within it, who are holding a light up to the darkness, and who within them carried a simple set of rules from a very solid perspective that things can be better, and they get better by being better and understanding first and foremost, we are all equal, and everyone involved owes everyone else their best. And that's the Arthur that's calling to me now. How about you?